Greetings, Boris and Ghouls. This is Dr. Von Mad. Remember me saying I was going to enter a dinosaur piece called Nightmare Rex into the Paris Henry County Artist Showcase? Well, this is what that earned me. Third place, mixed media. So, that's pretty good. Not bad for my first try doing it on, being a small fish in such a big pond. That being said, I'm going to hang this up as soon as I can get a frame for it. And we can get to today's project. In this case, it being so close to Easter, we're going to make us an Easter basket. Now, my oldest kid, man, had said something about making an Easter egg with confetti and Easter eggs. Now, the problem was that she was saying it in a very noisy moving car, and it sounded like she said Confederate Easter eggs. So that's what we're going to do today. For that, we're going to need one Easter basket. As you can see, I bought some kind of an old-fashioned one here. Kill this light so you can see a little better, hopefully. See, a very old-fashioned wicker type basket. I like this design. I paid like $4 for this at Walmart. We're going to go ahead and snip the tag off of it because we're not going to be... There we go. Now, we'll throw that away. And I bought some plastic Easter eggs. Now, it's got some dyes in it and some paints. But I got this for like $1.98. It's a dozen of these little eggs, and they come in their own little carton, so they're adorable. They're stinking adorable. See? They got their own little dye packets. I'm going to paint them. I'm going to see what happens if you try painting them. So, first thing I got to do is open this without getting into this dye packet. What I plan on doing is each one of these eggs will have a Confederate flag on it. So, these are very delicate little eggs. They actually feel sort of like actual eggs. It's kind of neat. So we're going to start painting a couple of these at a time here until I get my basket full. We're going to move my basket up here for the sake of not having, getting it nasty from the things. Now, that'll hold it up while we paint it, and then I can paint the underside of it at leisure. Alright. That's got to keep this thing from wiggling and wobbling. Now for that, as you see, it's got a rounded bottom, but this makes a good cup to paint this with. So, I needs a bottle cap. Suffice it to say, I should have bottle caps handy, and I do. So we'll grab ourselves a bottle cap because we're going to put that up underneath it, and that should keep it flat. I hope. And that'll help it when it dries. So, right now what we're going to do is we're going to work first on the Bonnie Blue flag. That was the first flag flown by the Confederate forces. Now I'm going to try a very similar method to what I used the other day with, I'm going to go ahead and cut me a piece off this rag here, a pair of old pants. So, I'll whip out the old Sweeney Todd. So just bear with me a minute. Got it. Now, put away the straight razor. And what I've got is this right here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to paint it down with the blue. And I've got some dark blue here, but I think for the Bonnie Blue, you're going to want, I don't know, navy might work better. We'll go with it and see what happens. So what I'm going to do, we'll open up this navy blue, and I've got a big container of this. Get ourselves a white brush and wipe down my paint rag because the wet paint and that gets water in my paint, and that's never a good thing. And we're going to douse this guy down and rub him down with some paint and see what happens. I'm not sure how it's going to work. I may have to let it set a few minutes and see. I'm going to try to wipe it, and if it comes out white when I'm done, then we'll know that this method won't work so good. the Bonnie Blue was basically just a straight up blue field with a single white star on it. Matter of fact, there's a whole song to it. If I can find me some white pom-poms, I may even make Rabbit Lee. Or Stonewall Chickson. I don't know. Well, I'm going to get out of here before somebody lobs a tomato at me. Now, go ahead and throw this back in here. Close this up, and we'll see how this turns out momentarily. It should kind of pastel it if I'm lucky. We're going to find out now. So, I've got the whole thing painted. Now, let's just kind of rub it down and see what happens. Huh. That actually kind of made an interesting look. I did not expect it, but it'll work. That's kind of neat looking. I kind of dig it. It's amazing what you learn. Now, we've got the basis. And yeah, I know it looks all marbledy, but I kind of like that design. I really do. Now, I'll whip out the white paint. My trusty edger brush or pen brush, my writer's brush here. And get this thing rocking and rolling. So the first thing we're going to do is paint the Bonnie Blue. Now, the flag itself is just, like I said, just a simple blue. Star. On a blue field. Now this was the flag that was flying over the Confederate forces at Fort Sumter. I believe that in the South Carolina flag. It's interesting to note, if you're an American, and it's a good argument for the Electoral College, is that the American flag has 50 of these on it. If you look at that field up there, they need to remember that there are 50 Bonnie Blues on the American flag, and that is a Bonnie Blue flag, or in this case a Bonnie Blue egg. Oh, I got too much paint, way too much paint. Now I will kind of fill this in, and we're going to let that one dry. And I'll be back for it shortly. So we'll leave that there and we'll be back. Alright guys, we had a bit of a technical malfunction, so I'm going to have to kind of bring you quickly up to speed. I don't know what happened, but my video went all higgledy-piggledy. I painted one of these red, and I put this white cross on here. I'm going to paint a thinner blue cross through the middle of it, and then put the stars to make the classic Confederate battle flag that was flown by the Army of Tennessee in the battles of like Chickamauga, Shiloh, Nashville, etc., etc. Then there's also some other variants like the Army of Northern Virginia that used one similar to it, and there's another one with a color inversion that we'll probably end up doing as well. That's just kind of a quick update because, like I said, that section of the video went a little bit awry. Our Bonnie Blue egg is still drying, so that's it for right now. I'll be back in a little bit. Well, guys, we're back, and as you can see, the Bonnie Blue egg is now dry. So we're going to put it up in this basket. I'll deal with the other stuff in a few minutes. Our next one, we're going to go ahead and paint the other X on the other side, the other St. Andrews. So we're going to get our brush wet. Coming back to this, to our pinpoint brush. Now I want to paint both of the outer parts of the St. Andrews before Sorry, I'm just woke up, guys. The St. Andrews I want to paint. I think I just kind of corkscrewed it. I may have bungled this just a hair. We'll see. May not try to connect them because I don't think that played very well. But it might. Kinda knew it this. Well, we'll get too much paint. It'll work. It's not perfect, but it'll suffice. As I said, this is the battle flag. Quite controversial these days. Unfortunately so. And I know there are places all over the South, unfortunately, where people have decided to tear down their heritage. You know, it amazes me because if you tore down a 1,000-year-old mosque in Syria by ISIS, these people would have a conniption. If you tear down the statues of Assyria and Babylon and Iraq, these people would have a fit. And yet, here they are, some of these same people are doing the same thing to cultural stuff here. It's more than a little bit tragic and a great deal hypocritical. Now, we're going to let that one dry a minute, and then we'll have to come in and do the other. Now, strange as it is, this next one we're just going to paint outright, because what we're going to be doing here is the stainless banner. And the stainless banner has, I gotta put a lid on this. I don't like keeping two containers open at the same time. The stainless banner is a white field with a, now I'm gonna carry this across because it's gonna have to suit on both sides here. It's probably gonna fly the other direction once it gets over here. And it was a flag. I believe it was like a naval jack or something, but they eventually put a red stripe on one side of it to because it looked too much like a flag of surrender. I've actually got one hanging in this workshop. There we go. I know right now it looks like a fingernail. We may expand it just a hair. because it's going to have to. Got to draw a very, very, very tiny Confederate flag, and it probably won't be as detailed as the big one. But there is a small Confederate battle flag up in the corner. Now, we're going to let that one dry, and we'll be back in a bit. Excuse me. I'll be back shortly. Alright guys, we're back, and I'm going to try to paint the blue striping on the battle flag egg now. It's a lengthy process, and I don't know how well I'm going to be able to do the stars at that size, but we'll try it and see. So we're going to go back to our pinpoint brush, what they call a liner. Grab our egg, and as you can see, it's got a little bit of it's not really well painted. Let me see if turn that off and see if you can see it better. There we go. You can see it's not perfect, but what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we'll paint along here. I'll probably have to come in and repaint it a couple of coats, I'm afraid. We'll see. Now, if it looks a little clunky, it's because it's hand painted, and I don't have I'm pretty sure there's no Easter egg kit on earth to paint your Easter eggs to look like a Confederate flag. It would be cool if it did, but it doesn't. So, it is what it is. Now, turn it, and like I said, this is going to be a couple of steps. Alright, now turn it and hold it gently. Don't want to get my fingers into the blue paint. And we'll come over here and do the same. It may not be a perfect stripe, and it's probably not going to be, but we'll do our best. I got a little bit over there. Now, up here, we'll paint our single stripe. Just remember, you could probably use the same techniques to paint some rather patriotic Easter eggs too. There we go. I'll have to probably come in and do a little touch up with the red, as I see that my white paint has gotten a little bit out of control. But we'll let that dry. Those are hand painted, so. Oh, knock it over. I'll have to pick it up. Knocked over my holder. Don't want to get blue paint on me, but I got to keep this thing from falling over. So I'll set that right there. Now, grab a hold of this one, and we're going to have to keep it from rolling away like that. Now, this one's going to be next, so do not roll away. Thank you. We'll have to let the blue cross dry on the Southern Cross. Alright, now let's get ourselves a little white paint. Not a whole lot, but just a little. Painty. And I come in and layer this. And around here. We'll leave that at that for right now till it dries. And let me check back in on our blue cross, even though I doubt that it's quite dry yet. Yeah, it's going to take a minute. Alright guys, we'll be back shortly. Alright guys, we are back and we're going to touch up some of our Easter eggs here. They'll let me. I'm sticking for some reason, which, okay, that's kind of bad. It stuck to the side. We're going to have to figure out, we're going to have to repaint that section. Well, nothing for it but to fix it. So that'll be our first order of business. The second will be to reline the edges of this thing to make it look a little neater and nicer. Alright, we're going to come in here. Grab a little bit of this. I don't need as much as I just grabbed, but we'll work with it. And kind of touch it up. So I've got to get I need to connect these two. Just for the overall shape so it doesn't look too clunky. Now, flip it, and let's take a look over here and try to keep my fingers out of this one so that I don't get blue where I've got red. So that's problematic. I'm gonna have to I'll probably end up having to touch up some of this anyway. So we're going to see if we can make this work. Alright. Now we're going to let this one dry, but I got to figure out a way to let it dry without getting it all over. Because, just simply put, setting it in like that was a problem. Ah, perfect. Got it set in a bottle cap. That'll do the job. Now. And that'll keep it off of all the paint until the paint dries, and then I can touch it up the rest of the way. Now in the meantime, while we're on this purpose here, I've got to make sure my hands are clean. It's a stainless banner, and therefore I don't want a whole bunch of extra paint on it. Let's go ahead and grab this, and we'll go ahead and move that out of the way so I can get in here. And I'm going to have to come in and touch it because you can see where I veered off a little bit. That's a bit aggravating. So I'll probably have to come in and touch it up a little. Alright, now this side. Get a little bit of this blue paint. I'll come up here. There we go. Now when that dries, I'll touch up that other side. And this one I can set in here because it's just the one color. Now, there were, like I said, several variants of the Confederate battle flag, including one that had a blue cross on it, but I think that was like Hardee's division or something. We'll look into it here in a few. I'm going to let these dry a minute and we'll be back. Meantime, well, actually, before I go, I'm going to show you something else. Well, how we're going to arrange this. So we got all the eggs. I'm making up, painting these up, and I'll be getting my As you can see, I've kind of got a Confederate flag bandana. Yes, I know it's got motorcycles and things on it too, but it's basically my rebel flag bandana. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the, see, we've already got the Bonnie Blue egg laying in there, and that's going to set right there, and the others will set all in here around it. I make a very decorative sort of thing. So there's where we're at with that. So we'll be back here shortly when this paint dries. Alright guys, we're going to try to see if we can tighten up the edge on our Confederate flag egg, on the eggs here. And so for this, I've got actually a new tool to bring into this game, this little fine point edger. Now you want to keep this little tube handy because it'll keep your brush from getting all withered. So let's look at our egg. So first thing we got to do is use a little bit of this candy, this hot rod red, I think. Kind of touch it up. May end up having to go get the candy apple to fix this, because I've got spots here that have gotten where it's gotten out of sorts here. So first thing we're going to do is go ahead and use a little of this and kind of coat over the paint over where I've messed up here. Now ring this around. And just kind of touch up where this thing has overstepped its bounds. Like right here, for example. I'm going to have to repaint that with red, with some white anyway, so I might as well. Alright. You have a way of putting a stencil on these things is probably a good thing. Now, put that over here, rinse my brush off. I'm going to try to put some of the stars on the other side because the other side don't look near as bad. Now, I can't guarantee they're going to be perfect because, well, my hands are a bit shaky. And I'm not quite as steady as I once was. But I'm as steady once as I ever was, so I guess it works out. Alright, we're going to be using a liner brush for this. So I'm going to get her wet, but I'm going to put my, it's going to have to go back in its tube when it's done because I want to keep this brush handy. So we got a little needle point on this thing, as you can see. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick this up gently from its sides so I can avoid getting red where I don't want red and other colors where I don't want them. I'm going to grab this, I'll come up here and just gently, and this may be painstaking. I really wish there was a stencil to make Confederate eggs, but in this political climate, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon, which is a real shame. To get a little more paint. I got way too much paint on that one. But let's see if we can make it work. I don't want to get just like a big mess, because I'm not perfect by any stretch. But that'll do it. Now, found a better way to make these stars. They don't have to be 100% perfect. Make an upside down T, and then 2 feet coming off of it, almost like you're drawing a stick man. This is not going to be perfect by any means. Need more paint. There we go. Try not to get too crazy with the paint, but I needed some. It is what it is. So, that ain't gonna be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But it's also not like I'm painting on a canvas or one of my sculptures where I can hold it from a different angle. With an egg, you gotta dye it and paint it the same color and then kind of do this all over. An egg is you would not believe how hard it is to hold an egg while you're painting it individually. Oh, got a bit of red off center. But we'll let that side dry. That actually turned out quite well. So we'll let that side dry a few minutes, and I got to work on putting some stars. Now on the other side, since I've just drawn a blue cross, and that is just too doggone small to be trying to draw stars on, I'm just probably going to put dots. So I think that gets the point across. It is so tiny. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and just put dots. You need them to be big enough to be recognizable. Get enough paint on there to do the job. And just, again, doesn't have to be 100% perfect. But I do need it to be recognizable as such. Now, I'm going to paint the other side to look more like it, but this is what we're going to go with for right now. So they kind of got that look of a hand-painted egg. So, if you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're not entirely done with our Easter basket. I'll be back tomorrow with some more eggs to paint. But this is where we're at right now with our basket of Confederate Easter eggs. I'm going to dry off my new brush. Slide it into its sheath and back into its case. We'll touch up the rest of these tomorrow, but at least you're kind of getting an overview as to what we're doing. So, don't forget to follow us on Pinterest, Patreon, and Facebook, and I will catch you cats, one and all, on the flip side. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, and God bless.